The Apple Magic Mouse is probably one of the most heated tech products of all time. On the one hand, there are so many poor decisions that Apple made with this mouse that make it unjustifiable to the rational consumer. But then on the other hand, there are a few really good features that make it incredibly difficult to switch to any alternative mouse once you've experienced this. So in this video, I'll be giving my honest review of this mouse after having paid $79 for it and using it over the last 2 years. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Okay, let's quickly get all of the bad stuff out of the way first. And there are really 3 major flaws to this mouse, which you'll hear people on the internet complain about. The first being this weird charging situation on the bottom. Now, yes, it is a bit odd that Apple decided to include the charging port at the bottom of the mouse, which effectively renders it unusable whilst charging. And to make matters worse, it also uses a lightning cable as well as of the date of recording, even though the entire iPhone and Mac lineups have literally switched to USB-C. I guess the one argument against all of this is that because the battery life on this mouse typically lasts for a few months, in my experience, charging never really becomes much of an issue. And I think like 2 minutes of charging this thing gives you about 8 to 9 hours of usage. And in my real world experience, I have never found the charging situation to be an actual issue. Like, yes, it is quite ludicrous. And yes, I do find myself internally laughing at how a multi-trillion-dollar company couldn't come up with a better design. But I've honestly never been annoyed by it, to the extent that I wish I'd never purchased this mouse. However, what does annoy me is the fact that this mouse can only connect to one device at a time. That is Apple, who are literally the masters when it comes to ecosystem integration and seamless handovers, doesn't let you pair this Magic Mouse to multiple Apple products. So if you own an iPad and a MacBook and you want to use the Magic Mouse with both devices, you have to manually forget the mouse on the device that it's currently paired to in the settings of that device, and then head into the Bluetooth settings on your other device and then manually pair it with that. And then when you want to switch devices, you have to repeat that entire process, but in reverse order. And this is actually annoying because when writing these YouTube scripts, for example, I usually like to write them using the Magic Keyboard on the iPad connected to an external display. But because the trackpad is a bit small, I'd honestly love to have the option to use my Magic Mouse that's currently paired with my Mac, which I've already paid for, with my iPad. However, this is something that I currently can't do, and it's something that cheaper Bluetooth mouses can do. And the final issue that a lot of people have had with this mouse is the ergonomics and how comfortable it is to use, which for some people is probably going to be the most important factor when purchasing a mouse. And yes, the Magic Mouse doesn't have the most ergonomic shape. And this used to be a common theme with Apple products in the 2010s, where, there was a constant quest for minimalism and design, which led to some of their products prioritizing form over function. And so whilst I think the Magic Mouse does look pretty cool and futuristic, if we're evaluating it purely on functionality, then yeah, there's no way I can recommend this to anyone in good faith. And that's because of the weird position it puts your hand in when you hold over it. Like you'll see in the B-roll that I'm showing you, that there's a bit of a gap between where your palm rests and where the top of the mouse is, which means you can't comfortably rest your hand on the mouse like you can with other options like the Logitech MX Master 3. Now, that said, personally, I have actually had no issues when it comes to comfort in the last 2 years of using this. I might be in the 1% minority of the population that actually likes the feel of the Magic Mouse. Who knows, maybe I'm just unusual, but honestly, I can use this for hours at a time, especially when editing videos, which is generally quite a mouse intensive task. And that brings us nicely onto what I really like about this mouse. And I think what sets this mouse apart from every other option out there on the market is its natural scrolling mechanism and the way it navigates macOS. You see, with most ordinary mice that use a standard button for scrolling, you get an almost jarring, non-smooth effect when scrolling through text on a website or across the UI. And a lot of mouses will only let you scroll vertically. However, with the Magic Mouse, you'll notice that there is no scrolling button because the entire glass section above the Apple logo effectively acts as a trackpad. So it lets you scroll up and down with just the brush of a finger, almost mimicking the inertia of a touchscreen. You can also 2-finger swipe between spaces and activate mission control, and you can scroll horizontally over timelines in Final Cut Pro, and even double tap to smart zoom in on a piece of text. And yeah, this is really a big deal for me because anytime I use an external mouse, I just can't deal with the scrolling that you get with non-Magic mouses. It's kind of like when you're used to the Retina pixel density on something like the Apple Studio Display. It becomes quite difficult to switch to anything of a lower resolution. And yeah, there really isn't any other product on the market that can compete with the Magic Mouse on this front, except for the Magic Trackpad. So I just said that what makes the Magic Mouse special is the fact that it effectively acts like a trackpad. So if that's the case, then why not just buy the official Apple Magic Trackpad and then pair that with an actual mouse like the MX Master 3? And then you can have the best of both worlds. You know, you get access to the gestures of a trackpad and the ergonomics of a proper mouse that can charge properly, especially since an actual trackpad will let you manually zoom in on content, whereas with the Magic Mouse, you can only smart zoom by double tapping with one finger. And if you pair this to an iPad, you do retain the horizontal and vertical scrolling and the zoom gestures with the Magic Mouse, but gestures like switching between spaces won't work. Whereas with a trackpad, you do get full access to those shortcuts. So I just thought I'd point that out. And to be honest, using the Magic Trackpad alongside another mouse probably would be the best setup. And I'm sure it's the one that a lot of YouTubers out there will use. The main reason why I personally haven't done this myself is simply because the Magic Trackpad is pretty expensive. It costs something like $149 or pounds. So I figured that why pay that much when I can have 90% of that setup with a single $79 mouse. So if I'm offering a final verdict, should you purchase this mouse? I think I'm going to have to split this into three categories. So if you're somebody who prioritizes ergonomics and comfort above everything else, maybe you have a history of wrist pain or discomfort, then you should probably avoid the Apple Magic Mouse. If you're somebody who already owns an Apple Magic Trackpad, or maybe you use the built-in trackpad with your MacBook with the lid open, then you could probably avoid this mouse as well. Like, a lot of the benefits that you will get will just be a repeat of what the trackpad offers you. However, if you're neither one of those and you want the best mouse that integrates with macOS better than anything else out there on the market, then as is the case with most of Apple's accessories, the Magic Mouse is, I'm afraid to say, going to be my recommendation. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for making it this far if you're still watching. If you'd like to know what I think of the Apple Magic Keyboard, then there should be a link to that somewhere at the top. And as always, consider leaving a like if you found this video helpful in order to support the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.